It's good news and bad news in the latest city crime numbers. Municipal officials look to recover some social service contributions. And another deadly train derailment claims 80 lives.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. Statistics Canada has released its 2012 crime numbers, and there's both good news and bad news for our city.
The rankings on the Crime Severity Index show Thunder Bay posted the largest improvement of any city across the country. But we have also, unfortunately, regained the dubious title of Murder Capital of Canada. Jonathan Wilson has more.
It's a distinction no community wants, but Thunder Bay had the most homicides per capita last year among the 33 Canadian cities with 100,000 people or more. The 7 murders represented 5.8 per capita, far ahead of Winnipeg, which had 4.1 per capita and 33 homicides. Regina, Halifax, and Edmonton were next on the list, while Toronto had the most murders with 80, but just 1.4 per capita. Deputy Police Chief Andy Hay says most of Thunder Bay's homicides involve alcohol and people who are well known to each other.
We don't have a lot of homicides. We had 7 last year. Currently we have 2. I don't know where this year is going to end up. It's too early to tell. But we are quite a bit different than a lot of major centers. I believe Toronto last year had 80 homicides. We are not Toronto. We have a very small population. One homicide has a great impact on our homicide rate with only having 115,000 people.
Despite the troubling murder numbers, Stats Canada shows Thunder Bay has had a dramatic decrease in overall crime. In 2011, the city ranked 3rd worst in Canada with a 107 score on the Crime Severity Index, but that number has plummeted 17% to 88.0, the biggest decrease in Canada last year. That put us in 7th spot across the country, behind Regina, Saskatoon, Winnipeg, Kelowna, Vancouver, and Brantford. Hay says it's been a concerted effort.
There's a lot that goes into dropping those rates. First off, you have to have good, effective crime prevention as well as enforcement and investigative strategies in place. We also attribute it to more of a consciousness within our community right now on crime prevention and crime issues, social issues.
Hay says the newly formed Crime Prevention Council is helping turn the tide, and he hopes the crime numbers will continue to decline with other initiatives such as the new Zone Watch program and the zone policing model, which is now being implemented.
And I think we're going to continue to see a turnaround. We're going to monitor the situation very close. We're not going to sit back and say we've turned things around or things are looking better, that we can relax. We're going to turn up the pressure on this, and hopefully we can get our crime severity index down and hopefully more towards the national average of about 75. Currently we're at about 88.
Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
Some municipal politicians who sit on the Thunder Bay District Social Services Board had a difficult decision to make today. The DSAB's final 2012 budget comes in with a surplus in excess of $1 million, money some communities would like back. Dennis Ward has more on the deciding vote.
$1 million split on a per capita basis can be big money for some municipalities. The 2012 DSAB surplus, if fully returned, would mean nearly $800,000 for the city of Thunder Bay. For smaller communities, those dollars can be even more precious. The member from Greenstone says his colleagues directed him to vote to get as much money back as possible. But he and others decided to hang on to almost half of the surplus dollars for possible upgrades to the buildings it looks after. DSAB CAO Bill Bradica says he understands municipalities wanting the money back.
Unfortunately, what we're faced with is reduced funding in many areas from the province, which does contribute, I guess 2/3 of the total DSAB budget. With social housing, though, the difference is that the province considers it a 100% municipal program.
Bradica says future costs to fix up social housing in the district could come with a price tag of $10 million or more. Economy Mayor Kevin Holland was the only vote against hanging on to the money. He represents a lot of smaller communities on the board and says they too are facing budgetary pressures.
A lot of the member municipalities are facing a decrease or increase in their budget due to OMPF shortfalls and outside agency budget increases, and a lot of them are struggling. The decision will be livable. Obviously, I voted against it, wanting to get the full amount back, but we'll move forward from here.
The DSAB will get a report on the necessary upgrades needed in the fall. Bradicka says if the price tag is smaller than believed, the additional $400,000 could be returned to the municipalities. Holland says that would make the people he represents very happy. Dennis Ward, TBT News.
A little more than 5 years ago, Prime Minister Stephen Harper made a historic apology to former students of Indian residential schools. Today, people across the country, including here in Thunder Bay, were demanding the government honor that apology. About 30 people, including some who attended the schools, gathered in a circle at Vickers Park this afternoon. Survivors who wished to share their stories did so, bringing some to tears. Organizer Clyde Muniz says both of his parents had traumatic experiences in the Indian schools and turned to alcohol to deal with it. He says they're now clean because of support systems like the Indian Friendship Center.
Nothing has changed. It was just an apology. If the change is going to have to come within us, the Anishinaabe people, we as Anishinaabe has to take the next step in life to go through what has happened and to heal properly for a better future.
Many of the rallies across the country were also in response to recent revelations about Aboriginal students and adults who were used in nutritional experiments by the federal government.
The clock is ticking as the future of Canada's world-renowned freshwater research station hangs in the balance. The experimental lakes area has operated for 40 years, but it could be shut down permanently by September 1st if a deal is not reached to guarantee its continued operation. Courtney Rutherford reports.
This body of water is home to a one-of-a-kind facility that researchers depend on. It's used to better understand global threats to the environment, impacts of human activities on lakes, and promotes protection and conservation of the areas around us. After the federal government closed the doors of the research facility this past April, the Ontario government agreed to fund the area on an interim basis. But nothing has been heard on the situation since. Still, MPP Michael Gravel says the Premier is committed to seeing the ELA stay open, despite the looming deadline.
Right now, the province, through the Minister of Natural Resources, is engaged in very constructive discussions with the federal government, with the International Institute for Sustainable Development, to see that indeed the operation stays open.
The current agreement allows scientists to perform experiments in the 58 lakes until September 1st. If a deal isn't reached by then, the ELA will be locked down. Although MPP Michael Gravel confirms Premier Wynne is working on the matter, members of the Canadian Council Advocacy Group say they haven't heard so much as a word.
We wrote to all the people who were involved in it and said, would you please let us know what's going on? Give us some updates so you don't need to tell us any big secrets, just let us know the things are going on. That was on the 3rd of June. We haven't heard a word since then, and it was every one of the people who were involved in it.
The group is hoping to have an answer by the middle of August so they can prepare to picket if the facility in fact does close down. MP Bruce Hire says he's hoping that the newly appointed Minister of State for Science realizes the importance of the ELA to our region.
Mr. Rickford is an intelligent man, and I hope that he is going to stand up for science here, and we're all going to be waiting with bated breath to see whether he does that.
The outdoor laboratory has been open for the past 40 years, and the future of the facility will be determined in the coming month. Courtney Rutherford, TBT News.
There were several questions and concerns voiced at a public meeting today on the arrival of the Regional Research Institute's new cyclotron. The multi-million-dollar facility will play an important role in the treatment and diagnosis of cancer patients, but before the equipment arrives, several measures are being implemented to ensure public safety. Nate Jones reports.
This was the first of several information sessions scheduled to help educate the public on the soon-to-be nuclear facility. Once up and running, the cyclotron and radiopharmacy will be joining a network of such facilities across the country. The goal is to avoid a medical isotope shortage, such as in 2009 when the Chalk River reactor was shut down. The radioisotope making machine that's coming to Thunder Bay has a different and safer method of production than that facility.
It doesn't start with highly enriched or radioactive materials as its feedstock essentially. It uses things like enriched water, which is not radioactive.
Any radioactive materials that are left over break down in about 30 days or less, becoming no more harmful than background radiation found in the environment. Until these radioactive particles are safe, they will be stored underground behind 8 feet thick walls in the same room as the cyclotron. Currently, the city's medical isotopes come from southern Ontario. The long trip north means more material must be created because of short half-lives. Richard Wilkes, who was attending the session, was pleased with what he heard.
It's like you think of the stuff from down Toronto. It's it lasts for 99 years. They're trying to find someplace to bury it, whereas this stuff, after the maximum month, it'll be dead. So it's safe. There's nothing to worry about.
The cyclotron is to arrive in spring of next year. Completion of the structure behind me that will house it is slated for the summer. The next information session will be at the Regional Health Sciences Center August 7th. Nate Jones, TBT News.
Superior North EMS is getting a healthy funding boost from the province. The 4.8% increase amounts to nearly $540,000 to their $11 million budget. Chief Norm Gale says he's pleased the added funding will cover the provincial share of staffing the new ambulance added to their fleet last year.
More questions today about that fatal roof collapse at a shopping mall in Elliott Lake. Counsel for the inquiry tried to pin down the owner about repairs. Joanna Emiliotis reports from a town that wants answers.
It happened more than a year ago, but to Sherry and Jason Morrissey, it's a moment frozen in time.
There we go, we're walking in now.
That's the two of them on the Algo Center's parking deck, seconds before the roof caved in.
Felt like an earthquake. The whole building shook.
The chilling image was captured by a security camera, a close call that has left them searching for answers and accountability, especially from the mall's owner.
For sure, he should be blamed. He should be charged with murder.
Absolutely, he should. All those people he put in danger.
For the third day in a row, Bob Nazarian faced a barrage of questions about a leaky roof he never got around to repairing in the 7 years he owned the mall.
To find a way to clog those leaks because you were worried about what would happen. Not only that, but losing my tenants.
The inquiry has heard engineering reports detailing the leaks and the potential damage to the structure had been drawn up well before the roof collapsed. Reports Nazarian admitted to not reading. He testified he assumed the structure was sound, but still scrambled to secure financing for a permanent fix.
We were almost losing money. Our line of credit in our house was gone down, and we were knocking every door possible for help.
But in a statement today, the previous owners said Nazarian negotiated a $2 million price reduction to allow him to have sufficient cash in reserve to effect repairs. Gary Gendron is set to testify next month. His fiancée, Lucy Aylwin, died when the roof collapsed.
You know, if his roof or his house would be leaking, I think he'd fix it right away, right? So the same thing for this mall. It should have been not neglected. It should have been fixed right away.
Nazarian testified he may have had millions in assets but little in cash flow, and he insists he had no idea the mall's roof was ever in any danger of collapsing. Joanna Brumiliotis, CBC News, Elliott Lake.
A local education and training institute is helping Aboriginal youth explore the world of mining. Officials with Oshkosh Panashawin unveiled their new interactive web portal that is a gateway to information on mining careers and education programs. LearningToMine.ca is an educational career tool that will help prepare First Nations people for mining opportunities. E-learning coordinator Gordon Kakigamic says it addresses a learning gap with First Nations young people. He says they need more confidence to ask questions about opportunities in the mining industry.
You don't see that happening. One of the problems is there is no mining presence in the communities. You have youth there who can't speak really to anybody in terms of the mining industry. So the portal bridges that gap. The portal brings youth and industry together.
Kakigamic says the interactive website will help prepare youth for the potential mining boom in the area. He adds they hope to promote the site through engaging teens at schools and career fairs. Anyone interested in learning more can visit the Learning to Mine website.
Plans are now set for Patrick Sharp's return to Thunder Bay with the Stanley Cup on August 2nd. Just like in 2010 when the Blackhawks won the Cup, the Fort William Gardens will host Sharp and Lord Stanley's mug. The event will be open to the public from 12 noon till 2 in the afternoon. Sharp and his family considered the marina as a possible location, but after discussions with the city's events supervisor, Doug Henry, the decision was made to do it at the Gardens. It's the third time in the last 5 years that the greatest trophy in sports will visit the lakehead.
The NHL players, including Patrick, that are in Thunder Bay right now, I mean, they're such community people, and people really want to give that back to them. So I think it's a really great opportunity for people to say thanks to Patrick, and thanks to the NHLers that are part of our community, and that's what today is going to be.
Now, attendance is free, but the Sharp family is requesting people bring a non-perishable food item, which will then be donated to Shelter House.
A famous Andrew Lloyd Webber musical is headed to our city. Migliazza Productions is presenting Jesus Christ Superstar at Redwood Church starting tonight. The rock opera is based very loosely on the Bible's accounts of the last week of Jesus' life. Director Sam Migliazza says he was most inspired by the 1973 movie, so actors are dressed as though they were in the 70s. The production features 46 actors and actresses, an 11-piece band, and another half-dozen crew members. Cast members range in age from 14 to 32. Spencer Harry does a different play in the city every year and says this is the first locally produced mega musical in Thunder Bay in years.
And we've got the best backstage crew, we've got the best lighting, the best sound, the best band you'll ever hear, and all the actors are fantastic, and our director was such a visionary, so it was fun to follow him through.
I think the whole thing we've been going for is allowing people to not be able to pick what their favorite scene is. People are going to go away with just something they've never seen before in this city, and the talent, the singing is amazing.
The production is in support of Redwood Park Food Bank. It runs at 7 o'clock tonight, tomorrow, and Saturday. Tickets are selling out fast, and advance tickets are available at Steepers Tea and Valente's Music.
It might actually be a good night to go see a play. Fiona, no rain yet, but given the gray skies all day, I would assume it's only a matter of time.
The gray skies and the humidity. Wow, it was like being out in a rainforest once again. Very muggy out there. We did top out with a high of 19, but with that high humidity, it certainly just felt very close and very sticky. Winds were relatively light, 9 kilometers per hour most of the day, although in the last few hours it has kicked up to the low 20s. Now, across the region, lots of cloud cover and again, more cool temperatures. Fort Frances is managing to eke out about 20 Celsius at this hour, but for the most part, we're looking at the mid-teens. Sault Ste. Marie enjoying a little bit of sunshine, seems to be the one sunny spot still in the region, but that's going to change quickly. And thunderstorm alerts, so let's talk about it. We've got Atikokan, Upsala, and Quetico into Fort Frances and Kenora, all with a thunderstorm, a severe thunderstorm warning in effect. Dryden and Superior West are under watches, and meteorologists have been tracking the storms that are moving in from the west, so there's the possibility of it. Thunder Bay not in that mix, but if you are heading out to the Border Cats game at the stadium at 7 o'clock, 18 Celsius, and bring something waterproof because there is still a risk of showers, and if it's anything like last night, well, we certainly had more than our fair share of rain last night. We all know that. Now, tonight, 10 millimeters is expected overnight with a low of about 11 Celsius, so not a huge fluctuation in temperatures, but you are going to see a fair amount more rain overnight, and then as we head into Friday, unfortunately, that low continues to hover over Lake Superior. So we're looking at more periods of rain as it starts to move out. We do have some dry air behind it. Unfortunately, it's fairly cool dry air, so don't expect a warm-up for the weekend. I'll have more details on what you can expect for the next few days. It's later on in the news hour.
All right, thanks very much, Fiona. Well, with images of the Lac-Mégantic train disaster fresh in everyone's minds here in Canada, there is another real catastrophe to tell you about tonight, this one in Spain. We'll have details as your news hour continues.
I'm at 190 kilometers an hour and I'm going to derail.
A deadly train crash in northwestern Spain last night has claimed the lives of at least 80 people.
Many others who were on board are in hospital severely injured. Video shows the train was going too fast, and investigators want to know why. Susan Ormiston reports.
A grim duty. Recovering the wreckage of Spain's worst train crash in 40 years. Rail cars ripped open by the sheer force of impact. Rescuers pulling out remnants of people's lives. We used picks, spades, and stones to get in, he said. The injured came out first. In a horrifying scene, as security camera caught the train barreling down. On the curve, trains are supposed to slow to 80 kilometers an hour. According to Spanish press, just before the crash, one of the drivers sent a panicked message. I'm at 190 kilometers an hour and I'm going to derail. Minutes after, it derailed, he said. What am I going to do? Spain's Prime Minister, Mariano Rajoy, who was born nearby, called this the saddest day of his life, declaring 3 days of national mourning. Families of the dead passengers are now converging here, the city organizing an impromptu memorial. Ordinarily, these trains can travel at 200 kilometers an hour, but go slower on parts of the track. The engineer would have to brake long in advance, says transport commentator Christian Woolmer.
He was operating under a system that would normally sound some kind of warning to him in the cab that he was going too fast. Now, whether he ignored that or whether it was not functioning properly, of course, that we don't know yet.
The Alvia train was built by a consortium of Canada's Bombardier and Spain's Talgo. A team of Bombardier inspectors is in Spain, but the company told CBC there is no evidence or suggestion of mechanical failure. Many of the answers will have to come from the train drivers, both of whom survived the crash. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, London.
Elsewhere, an overnight train derailment in Tampa had emergency crews there dealing with a potentially explosive threat. As many as 15 tankers containing highly flammable ethanol went off the tracks and spilled overnight. That spill is now contained, but cleanup is expected to take at least another 24 hours. No one was injured in the incident.
The country's premiers aren't happy with the job program announced by Ottawa earlier this year, and their message today is that something has to change. It came as the provincial and territorial leaders met in Ontario's Niagara region for their annual summer gathering. Tom Perry has the details.
How can I get more training?
The federal government has been running ads promoting its Canada Job Grant program for months. The program was announced in the last federal budget, but provincial premiers say they were never consulted. And the way it stands now, they say the plan won't work.
We are unanimous in wanting this program to be changed, wanting to engage with the federal government. We all agreed that there hadn't been enough consultation. We all agreed that there would be damage to programs in our communities, in our provinces and territories.
The premiers want a ministerial meeting between Ottawa, the provinces and territories to discuss the job grant program. But Quebec's Pauline Marois says her province is already prepared to opt out of the plan.
We do not want to have the invasion of the federal government, and we know exactly what to do.
While the talk inside the Premier's conference focused on skills training, outside unions and healthcare advocates had a different message for provincial and territorial leaders. They say if the provinces can come together to challenge Ottawa on its job plan, they should also be able to form a united front and demand more money for healthcare.
You may not get what you want next week or next month, but if you don't raise these issues with a united voice, Mr. Harper will pick you off one at a time.
The premiers will talk healthcare tomorrow. For now, though, they've got a different focus. That's getting Ottawa to change its job grant program. Tom Perry, CBC News, Niagara-on-the-Lake.
Police in Winnipeg are still searching for the mother of 2 children who died after being found in critical condition in their home yesterday. The search is underway in the neighborhood where the 32-year-old woman lived with her toddler daughter and infant son, as well as at a nearby river. Police say they are working under the assumption that Lisa Gibson is still alive. cause of death has not yet been released, with police only saying that the deaths of the children is beyond tragic.
Here's a video climate change deniers will have some trouble dealing with. You're watching a time-lapse video of the North Pole taken this month. As you watch, you'll see the ice slowly disappear to form a fresh water lake resting on a thinner ice layer below. Temperatures this month have been 1 to 3 degrees Celsius higher than average in the Arctic. Last year, the extent of the sea ice melt in the Arctic was the worst on record.
Let's take a look at today's activity on the markets now. In Toronto, the TSX slipped 3 points to 12,669. Wall Street saw the Dow climb 13 points to 15,555. The Nasdaq up 25 points to 36.05. Canadian dollar jumped about a half cent to 97.43 cents U.S. Gold was up $9 to $1,328 an ounce. And crude inched up slightly to $105.49 a barrel. We talked about those cloudy skies out there a few moments ago. A lot of people at Port Arthur Stadium watching the weather closely right now as the Border Cats hoping to swing into action after the All-Star break.
Yeah, and they really need a win, 4-14 on the second half. They've lost 8 of their last 10, but who knows? Hopefully they can get that game in tonight. They probably won't be making it. This team probably won't be inducted into the Northwestern Ontario Sports Hall of Fame. Meanwhile, the 32nd class of inductees into that Hall of Fame, which was announced today, they boast some pretty impressive resumes. It was formally announced this afternoon. The Athlete category features 2 gold medal winning females as well as a Stanley Cup champion. And the 2 builders to be inducted, well, they have a combined 90 years of experience, so they know what they're doing. And the This year's team category is the first of its kind to be called to the hall. Matt Scooby has the complete rundown.
Andrea Cole felt pretty good going into the 2000 Paralympic Games in Sydney, Australia, but even she didn't know that she'd be the first female athlete from the region to win a gold medal at the Games. And now she's being inducted into the Northwestern Ontario Sports Hall of Fame.
You can't get any better than this, you know, and it's kind of, it's a little bit sad at the same time because it marks the end of my sporting career, but also the beginning of a new stage in my life. And it's really important to me to still be involved in swimming.
Cole is one of 3 athletes being inducted in this year's class. Hockey player Katie Weatherston will also be called to the hall.
Kingsbury in front, scores! Katie Weatherston!
Weatherston is the first athlete from Thunder Bay to win a gold medal at the Olympics, which she did in 2006 in turn with the women's hockey team. Stanley Cup winner Tony Herkus will join Weatherston and Cole in the athlete category. Herkus won the Cup in 1999 with the Dallas Stars and is the only regional hockey player to win the Hobey Baker Award as the most outstanding U.S. college player. A pair of Bryans are also being inducted in the builder category. Brian Mallon has been involved in both curling and golf for almost 40 years and officiated at the international level.
It's a dream, something you dream about. You never think it ever happen. It's something happens to you for doing something you like to do. I really enjoyed working over the years, helping people out and officiating and keeping the sport alive and keep it going. And it's just the top of everything. It's something I'll cherish for the rest of my life.
Brian McLean is entering his 50th year as a member of the Canadian Lakehead Men's 10-Pin Bowling Association. He's thrilled to be entering the hall after helping a lot of young local bowlers have success on the national stage.
When I got that phone call, I couldn't believe it. You know, you work to make it enjoyable for everybody. You don't think about your own honors that come along the way. And this is a real honor. And I don't consider myself a builder, more promoting the sport that I love.
In the team category, the 1991 Canadian Open Lightning Class Championship crew will be the first sailing team to enter the Hall of Fame. The induction ceremony is set for September 28th at the Valhalla Inn. Matt Scooby, TBT Sports.
Well, it was way back in 1954 that Pat Fletcher won the Canadian Open. That was the last time a homegrown golfer won the tournament. This year, a field of 18 Canucks, including Graham Dillette, David Hearn, and Mike Weir, hope to finally end the drought at Glen Abbey this weekend. Round 1, Weir lost this tournament in a playoff to Vijay Singh back in 2004. That's the closest a Canadian has come in the past 59 years. Matt Kuchar finished in a 3-way tie for second place, thanks in part to this long eagle putt on 18 to finish off the back 9. He's at 6 under, a stroke off the pace set by leader Brendan Steele. To 13, Hunter Mahan very much in contention at 5 under as we see him drop the putt, one of 7 birdies for the American. Tough day for Weir. He's into the clubhouse at 1 over par. David Hearn is the top Canadian. He finished the day at 2 under. Graham Dillette shot an even par 72. Well, one can only imagine the range of emotions Eric Staal has felt this offseason. First, the disappointment of missing out on the NHL postseason for the 4th straight year after a promising start to the lockout-shortened season for his Carolina Hurricanes. Follow that up with pain and frustration as he suffers a serious knee injury at the World Hockey Championships. Finally, excitement. He's one of 4 Thunder Bay-born players invited to next month's Olympic orientation camp, hoping to earn the right to defend the gold medal he won in Vancouver back in 2010.
Spring pass off the draw. Staal walks in. He scores! Eric Staal!
Barring something unforeseen, Eric Staal is a virtual lock to once again represent Canada at the Olympic Games. The 28-year-old notched 18 goals and 35 assists during the lockout-shortened NHL season, which unfortunately once again ended in disappointment for the Carolina Hurricanes. Earlier this week, he was one of 4 Thunder Bay-born players invited to the upcoming Olympic orientation camp, along with his brothers Mark and Jordan and Patrick Sharp. And Staal can't help but envision that dream scenario where all of them make the team. That, he says, would be pretty special.
Not only for us, for a lot of people from Thunder Bay. Obviously Patrick, seeing the way he's played in playoffs and in big games and big goals that he scores, he's definitely going to be a guy in the conversation. So, and then with Jordan and Mark, two very, very good players with their teams, and Jordan's going to become more important as the year goes, and it'd be great.
But as he continues to rehab from a serious knee injury suffered at the World Hockey Championships this spring, does he have any reservations about once again donning the Maple Leaf?
Eric Staal is in a lot of pain out there.
Not really. I think anytime you get an opportunity to represent your country, if it works, family-wise and other reasons, you take advantage of that. And this was a season that I, desperately wanted to start earlier than it did, and then it didn't. And then I desperately wanted to be in the playoffs, and we weren't. So it was a time where I wanted to be on the ice and playing in meaningful games, and we got to that point, and then I got hurt, but that's sometimes part of the game.
Earlier this offseason, Staal categorized his rehab as a slower process than he thought it would be. Still, he expects to be back on the ice doing some light skating early in August.
I'm going to feel a little bit of uncomfortable feelings probably right away, but that's probably normal, and the game plan right now is still probably the first, second week of August to be on the ice a few times and see, kind of test it out.
Blue Jays Dodgers, top of the third, already down 1-0. Esmil Rogers pitching to the exciting rookie Yasiel Puig. He rips an RBI double off the wall in left field. Carl Crawford's got some wheels. He comes around from first. The Dodgers open up a 2-0 advantage. To the fifth inning, Blue Jays yet to record a hit off LA starter Ricky Nolasco, but the righty still manages to find himself in some trouble in the inning. With 1 out, Nolasco walks Colby Rasmus. Next up for the Blue Jays is Meiser Isturis. Isturis is issued a free pass on just 4 pitches. And that means acting pitching coach Chuck Krim, he wants a word with his hurler. Nolasco, however, would stay in the game. 2 batters later, Brett Laurie has had his struggles at the dish, still not hitting his weight, but he jumps all over this 1-0 pitch, sending it deep to center field. Rasmus comes home. Isturis finds himself right on his heels. He scores standing up. The first hit of the night for the Blue Jays ties this game at 2. Brett Laurie may be starting to heat up as he follows a 2-hit night with a game-tying double in the series finale. Rogers, meanwhile, who pitched himself out of a number of jams in this ballgame, does it again in the 7th with a little help from Melky Cabrera. Nice shoestring grab to rob A.J. Ellis of a base hit. The Dodgers strand their 10th base runner. Rogers scatters 10 hits over 7 innings, striking out 4. And after reliever Steve Delabar shut the door in the top of the 8th, the Blue Jays have speedster Rajai Davis on the base path for Jose Reyes, who hits one sharply toward first base. Adrian Gonzalez throws it away. After a nice play to knock the ball down, Bautista is credited with a single. Davis scores on the error by Gonzalez. The Jays grab their first lead of the game, 3-2, so we're off to the 9th. Dodgers down to their last strike.
Here's the 1-2. Puig is running. The ball is hit into center. Rasmus is not going to play it. It's over his head. Puig's going to come in to score, and this game is tied.
Colby Rasmus with the costly error in center field. That proved to be the turning point in this ball game. The Jays do it to themselves once again as the Dodgers open the floodgates in extra innings, scoring 5 runs in the 10th. The Jays drop their 7th game in ugly fashion. 8-3 is the final. Just no luck for those Jays.
And no end to the losing streak, and it's just gotten ugly.
No.
All right. Thanks very much, Ryan.
All right. Well, wind turbines have certainly been a hot topic locally, and the discussion continues on a documentary we have tonight with more. Here's a complete lineup on Teletalk.
Tonight on Global Thunder Bay at 8, it's The Winner Is, and 6 more acts try to sing their way into the hearts and votes of the judges. Then at 9 on Big Brother, will karma finally come into play during tonight's live eviction? And at 10 on Rookie Blue, a missing girl may be linked to the squad's most gut-wrenching case. Over on CKPR Thunder Bay at 7:30, visit Britain's craziest neighbors on Coronation Street. At 8, The Nature of Things reveals the power of different kinds of light on our ability to rest at night. Then at 9, we look at the pros and cons of building those giant turbines on Windrush. And at 11:35, George sits down with Broadway music legend Sarah Brightman. Teletalk is brought to you by Points, the traffic ticket specialists.
Well, once again, we're seeing below seasonal temperatures here in Thunder Bay, and Fiona, across the country seeing that a little bit of a cool down.
Yeah, and I think people are kind of done with that. They'd like the heat to come back, but unfortunately it seems to be on the coast. In Thunder Bay today, we topped out with a high of 19, although with all that humidity, 90%, no wonder it felt so wet and so closed outside. It certainly was an uncomfortable 19 and not a lot of sunshine. If you want sunshine, head out west, but you're not going to see a lot of heat unless you go all the way to the coast. Prince George is currently at 27, 22 in Vancouver. They've had beautiful days, and then things start to cool down. Edmonton is at 21 under mainly cloudy skies. Lots of cloud in Calgary at 17, 20 in Saskatoon, 17 in Regina. They have had periods of rain for much of the day. And as we head into Winnipeg, very gusty north-northwest winds and periods of rain throughout the day for Winnipeg. They're currently at 15 Celsius. Toronto, however, has been enjoying a very slow warm-up throughout today. They're just inching their way back to more seasonal temperatures. Nowhere near them yet, but they're working their way. They're currently at 22, as is Ottawa. They're also enjoying the warm-up, and Quebec City at 21, although they've had lots of sun today, so it's been really nice. Speaking of really nice, Fredericton, kind of a nice day today at 22. Unfortunately, don't let this fool you. They are under a heavy rainfall heavy rainfall warning, and are expecting about 60 millimeters or more of rain in the next 24 hours. Charlottetown at 17 and Halifax at 20, both seeing rain tonight, possible thunderstorms in Nova Scotia. And St. John's, another location where the heat seems to be collecting, 25 right now. They hit a humidex of 38 earlier this afternoon, so the heat's definitely on both coasts. If we take a look at where the rain is, you know it's in, well, central Canada, and this low over Lake Superior bringing lots of rain to northwestern Ontario today. Not a lot to Thunder Bay. It kind of calmed down, but we had a lot last night, and as we head into tomorrow, we have a good chance of more rain overnight tonight, and for Saturday, it will kind of start to wrap up. We're just at the tail end for the first half of the weekend, but there is a good chance you are going to need an umbrella at least most of the day on Saturday. Across the region, single digits in some areas, low double digits, lots of rain, and Sault Ste. Marie could see a thunderstorm tomorrow. Sun, rain, sometimes thunderstorms. This is what you call a mixed bag across the board, and still very, very cool temperatures, much cooler than we expect. Thunderstorm warnings in effect for Atikokan and Uppsala, Quetico, Fort Francis, into Kenora, Dryden, and Superior West under a thunderstorm watch. Remember, a warning means it's imminent. A watch just means the elements are all in place for the activity to happen. So it's worse where it's red. We'll go with that. At this hour, we're at 16 Celsius with some light rain in parts of the city and winds from the east. Tonight, we could see up to 10 millimeters, and there is a risk of a thunderstorm overnight tonight as we head into Friday. A couple more millimeters on Friday, probably much more on Friday night, but it's the temperatures that are kind of unsettling. 13 Celsius on Friday, 14 on Saturday with rain, cloud, and a little bit of sunshine. We start to warm up on Sunday with more sun as we head into the work week again. By Tuesday, we could be back into some hot summer weather.
In health news, all new parents eventually have to decide whether to have their child vaccinated. Most do, but some still don't. Well, now the addition of anti-vaccine advocate Jenny McCarthy to the daytime talk show The View has revived the debate, and it's even heating up the discussion among friends. Carrie Marsden explains.
When first son Maddox was born, Jody Peacock did her research and decided against vaccinations.
Starting at such a young age, at 2 months, vaccinating for 8 different diseases, it's pretty overwhelming for the immune system.
Peacock, also a naturopathic doctor, is now a mother of 3. She says the choice not to vaccinate can be met with challenges.
There are some pediatricians that won't take on patients if they haven't been vaccinated.
The immunization debate has been thrown in the spotlight after Toronto Public Health asked the television show The View to reconsider its hiring of Jenny McCarthy in a tweet.
We do not need
that many vaccines.
The actress, who has an autistic son, claims there is a link between vaccines and autism, even though studies have dispelled that.
I think it's understandable that people would relate to Jenny McCarthy. She too has a son who has a diagnosis of autism, and they relate to her mom to mom. And unfortunately, though, that can sway them away from medical opinion.
Now, while our vaccination rates have not reduced, there is still a concern from health officials because there is a growing trend with parents who are being hesitant and delaying immunization.
I absolutely do believe it's dangerous.
Doctors say one of the greatest public health success stories in terms of infant mortality is immunization.
Not getting the mumps measles vaccine and then getting mumps or measles or rubella, okay, leads to potentially profound disability and even death in the child who gets it.
Parents we spoke to said they all did their research before making the choice.
Everybody has the right to make their own choices in this situation. I mean, I've opted to immunize my children at the allotted times.
For health and safety reasons, it's my responsibility as a parent.
That responsibility is why Peacock made her choice.
As a parent, you need to be educated. You need to understand your risk. You need to understand the pros and cons to both sides.
Carrie Marsden, Global News.
Okay, for all you folks out there who've had an especially rotten day at work, stay with us. We've got something just for you, because you know no matter how bad you've got it, there's somebody out there who's got it a whole lot worse. That's coming up in a moment. This is for all you folks out there who thought you had a rough job. Now, when you see a video like this, you know something's about to go wrong. Now, before we show you what happens, you should know that the crocodile trainer is fine, and despite going ahead with something that sure looks like a bad idea. Have a look. Okay, this is something you have to see again just to find out if it's as scary the second time around. Let's take another look here, folks. Yeah, the trainer escaped with only a few bite marks, and there's no word if the tourists who were watching him gave him a tip for that surprise ending. But I've got one for him. Find a better job, because this one's terrible. Oh.
Just makes you cringe.
Maybe one where you don't stick your
head in a
mud.
crocodile's
Yeah,
mouth.
it seems to be common sense. If a crocodile opens his mouth, don't put your head in it.
Well, it seems like it would be common sense, but
Seems
apparently,
like it.
apparently not. We're going to
Different
recap
culture.
our top story. Well, Statistics Canada has released its 2012 crime numbers, and we are once again the murder capital of Canada.
Hopefully the rain holds off tonight. Border Cats in action at Port Arthur Stadium, taking on the Duluth Huskies, trying to turn their second half around. They come in with a record of just 4-14.
Well, we can hope it holds off because there could be quite a bit on the way. 10 millimeters tonight and more tomorrow, so keep your umbrellas handy.
And that'll do it for tonight's Look at News, Weather, and Sports. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow.